So as a full hour of basically entire market review. I mean, I think we looked at everything today, but we'll try and summarize this in about 10 minutes. The question we're having right now is just, is YouTube going to cooperate with us? I'm still seeing that says that video is unavailable, so I sure
Yeah, it
hope
doesn't
it
look
is.
like it.
But if I have to do this twice here this morning, I suppose I'm not going to complain, but we'll try our best. The big message that I had for the site this morning is, this is the end of the summer. We get into these low liquidity situations. Feels like the market is being pushed around quite a bit. We had, you know, I don't mean to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, and I really don't want the viewership to feel as though I have a hate on, but I think it's a little irresponsible of political leaders to be, coming out with statements about, businesses being ordered to do things by the executive branch of governments, and then them coming out and saying, "Oh no, it's just a head fake. It turns out we're still talking," and then the other countries involved come out and say, "We have no idea what this gentleman's talking about. Everything is continuing on as if the tensions are still really high." I do see that the market is being really pushed around. We took a real good look at things like risk on versus risk off. Sure feels like today we're back on to risk off scenario here. We took a look at the stock market and noticed that dumps actually lined really nicely with buying zones in the stock market, and then counter trend rallies coming out of the weekend aligned nicely with selling locations. So I'm wondering whether there's this market's being finessed a little bit. It's a little bit bothersome, but I think if anything, the big message that I want people to take away from this is just simply that this is the end of the summer. We're in the last week of August here. I've often seen over in the years gone by that we get a lot of shenanigans around this time of year. Keep in mind the pros are still technically on vacation in the Hamptons. They won't be coming back for probably a full week. And especially for things like crypto enthusiasts, we have to be very cognizant. We could see some real crazy action, especially through holiday weekends. I noticed that they really love to push the market around through that. So just be cognizant of this. It is coming up. And I do see a lot of market manipulation here, just pushing price around. Between sort of trader sell levels, trader buy levels, trader sell levels, trader buy levels, trader sell levels. I mean, this is getting just almost, it's quite shocking to see it play out. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Um, Back to sort of our what do we want to talk about today. I've got a bunch of ideas, although I don't know what the heck I did with it. There it is. U.S. dollar index, I think, is, we should keep an eye on this as sort of our proxy as to ultimate sort of direction in market. And I think we're still coiling out here. We are making higher lows, so that's encouraging. But at the same time, too, we're making lower highs. So, really we have to wait for this thing to resolve. And interestingly enough, if we go back out to that weekly time period, we did technically make higher highs, and now we are painting another one of these inside bar situations. So we finish the week here. We might find that we come out of the holiday weekend and the inside bar either fires to the bull side or to the bear side, and that would sort of resolve our wedge debate here. We're all waited with bated breath, but please understand this is a very sort of low liquidity environment. Where probably the predominant trends are going to continue. And then once the pros come back from their holidays, oh boy, look out. So with that in mind, yesterday we talked a little bit about the gold market. Of course, the gold market itself pushing to new highs. We had that head fake to the downside. Then Fed Chairman Powell spoke, and the market took off and just basically resumed its trending market state. It pulled back slightly to fill in the gap here, which I think is natural. And then we sort of talked about if you wanted to be a gold trader. Brian, unfortunately, it's very difficult for me to justify going in and buying gold in earnest. If we look at things like daily charts, oh boy, we are definitely in nosebleedy territory. We'll talk a little bit later on about how I've got some gold proxies in the venture capital market on the books, and if they rally through this event, then hopefully I'll get some doubles off. And that'll be, sort of money in our pocket. I have a very, very hard time going in and buying new names in the gold space up top here. So, just understand that there is quite a bit of risk now being built into the gold price, but could it move higher? Sure, market can do any old damn thing it wants. And so to that end, yesterday we talked a little bit about some setups that potentially you could play. Gold market, you can see the trading range that was established, big blast off, trend continuation, move higher. And so we mused yesterday, well, if I was a gold bug and I did want to try and play this, is there a way for me to play it? And I've got my old bot set up here working here, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 higher lows. You can start making the argument W's are starting to come in off of these charts. It does give you the opportunity, if you do play these W's, you can sort of front run the bot levels. So, move stop to scratch is going to be nothing more than a test of the previous highs, which I think, like I said, given low liquidity environment, given sort of a late summer type market state, we've got trend line breakouts, W's on other sides of trend lines. I think you can make the argument LJs and things like bots are coming in here. So could you front run the bot and be long gold off of these double bottoms? Now the bot level is fired. So if we do zip up and tag that old high, move stop to scratch, at least if you get stopped at scratch on the bot level, then actually you do walk away with a little bit of money in your pocket. So I do believe that this trade is working. As well, yesterday we talked a little bit about silver. Silver's just been on a hell of a tear here. We talked about this potential DAVO, W in OBV, W in price momentum oscillators, things like Willy and RSI here. And sure enough, away she goes to the upside. I thought a fairly detailed write-up of this. Yeah, there it is. So this is what we talked about in the daily brief. You could argue there was a cute little W that came in. If we go maybe drill down to like 4-hour chart, there is that W structure. On that higher time frame DAVO, you can see the wider W's all coming in here. And probably the trade, if you will, was just simply buying this W, looking for 2-to-1s. You can see just off of these, where the hell is this? There it is. That 2-to-1 has been hit on this move higher. And probably at this point, maybe this is a kind of scenario where you sell a part of the position and then start trailing stops on the remaining. You can see we are coming into things like trendline resistance up top here. So enjoy. Had you taken this trade, and hats off to you, had you done so, you can see how we're coming into resistance levels here. But maybe have your stop now trailing on the remaining position at this gap level or something along those lines, and just keep moving your stops up as new market structure comes in. So both those long ideas in the gold market, even though, as I said earlier, I can't play investing off of those time frames here. They're just way, way, way too far. I could understand the swing trader, the position trader, the day trader taking these long setups here. And you just have to be have your bulletproof trading plan. You got to have your setups fully vetted, and then when the levels come in, it's just a question of pulling the trigger. Within the stock market, and this is an example of a venture capital stock that meets trades on the TSE Venture Exchange, but it meets sort of the VCIM criteria for investing. These are the kind of names that I could consider taking nibbles at here. Obviously, they're in the resource space. Do your own due diligence, not pounding the table. It's an idea for you to chew on, but hopefully everybody looks at this chart and says, yeah, I can see this thing's got a bit of room to run if it does decide to get going here. Ultimately, when the VCIM names fire, that's basically low stock out. Shares usually been rolled back. Options to directors, so the insiders are long the stock. Shares for debt, that kind of thing, so that the balance sheet of the company is cleaned up. And then really all you want to do is just hunt for the weekly W's. And you can clearly see weekly W's are coming in. There is some buying interest that's pushing this name up. So these are the kind of names that actually I could consider working bids off of just to add to my portfolio. And you can see off of the last W, you can see what happens when these silly things do ultimately W. And so, this is the kind of name where, I could consider going in on the long side if I really wanted to add to resource names down here. Names, this is a name that I actually did buy this morning. I was watching this one closely. Again, you should look at this chart and go, yeah, okay, I can understand when the market W's, look out, right? When the market W's, look out. So, gee whiz, here comes another little W. It's a candle, entire sort of candle pattern W. And you can see where the double bottom breakout level is here. Again, do your own due diligence. I'm not telling you to buy this. It's not financial advice. I'm just telling you what I do with my money. So on the breakout here, I did go and pick up, small position, few $100, not a hell of a lot. But I'm willing to risk against these lows and just see where the wind blows us. And you can see big old hole on the charts up here at like $4.50. That would give me my double. So that's probably the target that I'm going to be shooting for. And of course, if we do things like, 50% rules, what's sort of a natural level for this thing to rally to? Gee whiz, that's right into the test the bottom of the gap, $4.21. And these guys, they have phase 3 clinical trials underway. So, that's not a bad sort of area to be hunting in the market. And then finally, what I would just simply say is if the stock market does decide to crap out, pharma isn't a bad place for people to hide in the market, as these guys, of course, are not cyclical, right? They sort of follow their own drumbeat. And, of course, like I said, these guys got phase 3 clinical trials going. So, if their drug happens to work, this thing could just take off like a rocket. So just be aware. This is a name that I've gone and picked up a little bit off of the bottom here. And I'll risk against these lows. And if we get stopped out, I'll tell you, look, I walked away. And then finally, within the crypto space, like we talked a little bit about dominance and stuff like that in the show today. If we look at the bigger names, Ethereum, they came out today and Vitalik himself said that his blockchain is starting to run out of space, which is getting a little scary. They're going to have to do Ethereum 2.0s and, what's the debate about moving from proof of work to proof of stake and all that. You can see that they're, and, Litecoin, I don't even know if there are any fundamentals driving Litecoin, but you can see, altcoin space still fairly weak. But, this is the kind of space where, if you do happen to find a name that has a W working, you can see there's some buying volume coming in on the long side here. You can see the W that's formed here. We never want to chase these names. But, interesting, very similar to that pharmaceutical stock. You can see the logic. Has the rally already happened and maybe this rally is done? Could be. But it's interesting how they brought the market right down to the original breakout point and then popped it back up. Kind of think Wyckoff and all that kind of conversation. So, this is a name within the altcoin space that, if we do happen to enjoy a nice little, Labor Day weekend within crypto, this is a kind of a name that might, actually do fairly well. Who knows? Do your own due diligence. This isn't financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing with my money. And I'm very interested in working bids down in the reload zone here. I wouldn't chase it up top here. But for a trade, that's not a bad risk to be hunting down in this reload zone. So we'll see how that goes. I do think it's a good idea, though, that, if you are interested in a name to, just run it by sort of what does the US dollar denominated name look like. And you can see that same double bottom there. You can see the Wyckoff check. Look at the volume. It's pretty active little coin. So there's a name for you to chew on. It's in an interesting trade location. We're basically right back down against the original lows. And like we said just a moment ago, off of things like pharma names and VCIM names, if this thing does decide to go, has it got some room to produce a half-decent little profit for you? I think so. The risk-reward isn't too bad. Again, not giving you advice here, just telling you what I'm seeing in the marketplace. And actually, coming out of tomorrow, we are going to have a special report from Colin and the Bravado Trading people, and we'll see if he has any other names that I'll tell you about in this daily brief recap as well. So, all right, why don't we leave it at that? Have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.